A little while ago, I asked the good people of the Elder Scrolls Online subreddit what they believe the worst healing skill in the game is. I got a lot of great responses, and my original plan was to make a nice simple one and done video about it, but then I thought, why not make a series out of it? So welcome to the first episode of a new series that I'll make a video for every now and then that I'm affectionately titling Healer Skill Spotlight, where we take a look at the good, the bad, and the broken things about every ESO healing skill. Since I was already on the topic of what's the worst healer skill in the game, I figure I might as well stick with it. So for our first ever episode of this new series, we'll be covering the Mend Wound skill and its morphs, Mend Spirit and Symbiosis. Let's go ahead and get right into this. So what exactly is Mend Wounds and its morphs, and why are they considered to be among the worst healing skills in the game? Well, Mend Wounds is a skill found in the Sigil Order guild line that essentially turns your light and heavy attacks into heals, with the heavy attack also restoring magicka in the same way that a normal heavy attack would. It's somewhat similar to the Warden's Lotus Flower skill, but whereas the Lotus Flower gives your light attacks and heavy attacks an extra effect, Mend Wounds fundamentally changes the way that your light and heavy attacks work, even including a unique animation for the skill. It doesn't sound too bad on paper, right? Being able to weave some extra heals in between your heals should be a good thing. Well, after using it, I can say there are some glaring issues with it that justifies the criticism that it receives. The first and most notable thing is that the heal is just pretty weak. Sure, I understand that it doesn't cost magicka, but I think I'd rather just spend a little magicka to use a burst heal than try to rely on this. Okay, maybe you're low on magicka. As one comment pointed out, being able to restore resources while not having to stop healing is actually a pretty nice effect, and I do gotta agree with that. That's a fair point. However, there are just better ways of sustaining yourself while also not having to stop healing. Even a regular heavy attack with a restoration staff will restore magicka and heal a teammate. Sure, maybe that effect will be a bit more useful in PvP, but even after testing it, honestly guys, I'd rather just use a different sustain skill. Because the magicka restore effect really isn't fast enough or strong enough to justify using this skill for that reason alone. Now you may be thinking, well Doc, you're supposed to weave heals in between your skills. And that's true. Though I gotta say, and maybe this is just a skill issue on my part, but I felt like the animation timing is just a little bit off. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like I felt like my actions per minute were just lower, like way lower when I was using this. And I even tested that theory when I was running some Vet Unhallowed Grave, and yeah, weaving regular light attacks feels much better than trying to get the timing down on this skill. Speaking of weaving and attacking, one of my biggest issues with this skill is that you lose out on any effects that you'd get from completing a normal light or heavy attack. The Essence Drain passive that gives you major mending? Nope. The Cycle of Life passive that restores extra magicka? Nuh-uh. Enchantments or status effects? Forget about it. Sets that require a fully charged heavy attack? Well, actually, you can kind of make that work, but I still don't think having to toggle this thing off and on again is worth that hassle. The issue with this skill isn't necessarily that it's terrible, because it does have a couple good effects as we discussed. Being able to heal and restore magicka at the same time is not bad, it's pretty solid. But it's just that you have to give up a lot of really useful things whenever you toggle this skill on. If you really want some additional healing with your attacks, I think the Warden's Lotus Flower skill offers a lot of the same benefits without all of the drawbacks. Well, maybe its morphs will do better. Maybe they're significantly different. Let's talk about Mend Spirit first. This morph adds an effect to it that makes it so that whenever you heal someone with Mend Spirit, they get Major Resolve, which increases your ally's physical and spell resistance for around 5 seconds. I actually think that this can help provide some decent utility. Major Resolve is a solid defensive buff that can really make a difference in your group's survivability, especially in a PvP setting. You know, another way that you can provide Major Resolve? The Warden's Expansive Frost Cloak, and it does this way better. It's group-wide, it affects multiple people at the same time, and it lasts for a full 20 seconds. Are you noticing a trend yet? Mend Wounds and its morphs fall victim to basically just being worse versions of everything that a Warden can already do. If Wardens were a bad healer class, I'd say this morph may be worth running for the major resolve, but Wardens make incredible healers, and you'll usually have one in an optimized group. Okay, but what about the other morph, Symbiosis? Well, Symbiosis adds an effect that makes it so that you also heal for a percentage of the healing you do to allies. And this one is actually not half bad for PvP. I'd argue even more so than Mend Spirit. Like we mentioned earlier, being able to restore resources without having to stop healing is nice, but it's even nicer whenever you're able to give yourself a little extra healing as well. It can be a decent way to keep yourself alive long enough to get enough resources for a little burst heal or a getaway skill. Of course though, the key word there is decent. Slapping a racing stripe on a Honda Civic does not make it a Lamborghini. Neither this nor Mend Spirit can turn this skill into anything even close to top tier. There are plenty of other ways of restoring resources, like normal heavy attacks, potions, class skills, or even other guild skills. Yes, this morph is certainly unique, and it may be worth considering next time you head into Battlegrounds, but like we mentioned earlier, I still think there are better ways of sustaining your magicka while keeping your team alive. To wrap this up, unfortunately, I gotta go with what everyone else is saying. Mend Wounds and its morphs just really aren't great. Of course, they're not unusable. No skill is unusable, and I'm sure someone out there will tell me about some sort of build that they've thrown together to make this skill actually work. And that's awesome. I'm very happy for you. But if you enjoy this playstyle, then I'd argue that the Warden class just does this entire niche a little bit better. And there we have it. That is our first episode of ESO Healer Skill Spotlight. I had a lot of fun making this little video. It helped me try out a skill that honestly I barely ever use, and I do look forward to doing this with other healer skills as well, especially some of the really good ones. Speaking of that, let me know in the comments which skill you want me to do next. There's nothing off the table. Class skills, weapon skills, guild skills. I'll do whatever skills you guys want me to overanalyze next, so long as it's typically used by a healer. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it useful. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the link below to follow me on stuff or watch any of my streams. And I think all I've got left to say is that I've been Doc. Take care of yourselves, be good to others, don't forget to play some PvP this weekend, and I will catch y'all in the next one.